Okay, so this was the 4th week in the field at Quarter Mile Lane. This week I finished up my ELA assessments. I gave my student the pre-primer passage that was in the ELA book. It was called Pat's Cat on page 114. She really wasn't able to read it. She was only able to read 3 out of the 4 thes. A lot of the time she would just say the letters that were in the words. She said P for cat, and she actually did substitute can for cat. And she did say like for likes, so I thought that was good. So I decided to pick another book because I couldn't really assess her from the book that was in the ELA. So I picked a book that I thought was a little bit lower and more on her level or something that she would be able to read. So the book then I just did my own learning record. The book that I picked, I wanted a book that was mainly about the alphabet, because even then she still struggles on identifying all of her letters in the alphabet. So I picked a book called The Letter M, which basically it goes M is for monkey, M is for mailbox, M is for marshmallows, M is for marbles, and so on. There's 32 words in the whole book. There are 4 words on each page, but it's very repetitive. Every page says M is for, M is for, M is for. So, and then it says like monkey, muffin, milk. She did a little bit better with this book, still not very well, but she did a little bit better. I don't really think you could go any lower than this besides, besides just a picture book. And then she had 19 out of 32 miscues. Significant miscues, she had 5. The comprehension question that I asked her was, what was the book about? And she said, a monkey, marbles, a cupcake, and money, which I think she inferred from the pictures. She said a cupcake because there's a picture of a muffin, so she obviously wasn't able to read, muffin, she obviously wasn't able to read muffin. And probably the majority of the words, like marshmallows and monkey and mailbox, she got from looking at the pictures. I guess the background of the student, I told her to look at the front of the book. Background was fairly high because she was able to recognize the letter M, and that's really all the book was about. She correctly read that letter on each page. I feel that the pictures on each page helped the student a great deal to complete the sentences and read words such as monkey, money, and mittens. Also, we were supposed to observe a phonics word study or spelling lesson that our cooperating teacher was teaching so that we could modify that for a lesson to tutor our student. Every week I've been, observing the lessons that my teacher does. So the one that she used this week, I don't know if I'm going to use that one to modify for my lesson. I might use a previous one from another week because this literacy lesson was a little bit different because they had an assembly earlier in the day, so they had to cut things short. And for this lesson, they only did writing. Normally, they'll break up into 3 different centers and work on a skill in each center, but they kind of just stayed together as a whole group for this lesson and just worked on writing. They did journals. It was kind of like a mini lesson. She did a lot of instruction, and then they did their independent practice. She did journals. She had them date the page at the top, and then she explained how the top of the page is for a picture, and the bottom of the page is for words, where the lines are. They need to write their sentences using words and punctuation. She also reminded them that they have a word and sound chart inside their folder if they need to use it. And then she let them get to work. She said that they could draw whatever they want, and they had to write about a sentence about the picture that they drew. My student drew a tree with a star, and then she wrote I like, and then she wrote LOLST. So I'm not exactly sure what that meant. I didn't have time to talk to her about that. They didn't have a whole lot of time to work on that, so Mrs. Trainer said that they would be able to finish the next day. Possible tutoring ideas that I have would basically just be to work on the alphabet in a journal, maybe the journal that they currently use. And then I talked to Miss Gallo, who is their student teacher in the classroom. She said that my student is okay with recognizing letters, but still has some trouble with a few of the letters. She needs to work on her sounds, though. So I would like to work on the sounds of the letters with my student, maybe by just playing some type of game where we pick out a letter, and instead of her telling me the letter, she just tell me the sound of it, because Miss Gallo said that, you pull out a letter and she can tell you the letter, then when you ask her what the sound is, she's not able to tell you that. So I'll have to develop some type of tutoring or lesson to work on the sounds with my student. And aside from Miss Gallo telling me this information, I also noticed this myself when I was reading with her. When she didn't know a word, I would ask her to sound it out, and she kind of just looked at me. So I was like, okay, well, what is the first letter? And she would tell me the first letter, and then I would say, what sound does it make? And she wouldn't be able to tell me. So because she doesn't know the sound, she's not able to sound the words out, therefore she's not able to read the words. So I would like to use the format of Miss Trainer's lessons I would like to use the format of Miss Trainer's lessons for my lessons to tutor the student on letter recognition and especially letter sounds. Other than that, I pretty much answered the weekly topics. They had an assembly in the morning, which was very interesting. They had like African folklore or African dancers come in and put on a little show for them for Black History Month. So that was very neat to see. They had drums, and the kindergartners loved it because they were able to let out all their energy and bang on the tables like it was a drum. And it was just a good way for them to release all their energy in the beginning of the day, and that way they were able to come back and be ready to learn in the classroom. And actually, the student teacher went up and talked to one of the people who was in charge of the dancing group, and she asked her if there were any like YouTube videos or anything along those lines that she could use in the classroom to get the students up and moving that went along with like the African music. So I thought that was interesting. That's actually a pretty good idea. To be able to use music, and specifically, especially during Black History Month, like African music, African tribal music, for the students to dance to. But I look forward to going next week and hopefully to tutor my student and see how that goes.